to leave the podium. We'll move on with our podium show.
The original host for the Portuguese round in World SBK's inaugural 1988 campaign, the brand new Estoril round was founded in 2020, and this venue, located handily just outside of the capital Lisbon, has only been missed off the calendar once since then. 6 races in 9 days to settle the 2025 title, and it could be decided this afternoon at the conclusion of this penultimate round. A classic circuit from the 1970s that staged every major championship on 2 wheels and 4, Estoril remains popular with fans thanks to its combination of fast corners and slow hairpins, and it's kept its place on the calendar by regularly delivering outstanding racing. Much of the overtaking here is provided by the heaviest braking zone at the end of a 986-metre start-finish straight, the longest of the season. 6 seconds to slow the bike from over 320 kilometres per hour to just 75 for turn 1, where Toprak Razgatlioglu made his race 1 winning move over Alvaro Bautista yesterday. Next passing opportunity is turn 6, the Parabolica Interior, only the second left-hander of the lap and the conclusion of another high-speed area of the track. Turn 9, the hook, is another action hotspot. A real crash risk there, but also the chance for a block pass at what is the slowest corner on the circuit. This morning in the Tissot Superpole race, Nicolo Bulliger set Estoril's fastest ever 2-wheeled race lap, 1.2 seconds faster than last year's lap record. Toprak Razgatlioglu has another hat-trick in his sights. 11 in his career so far at 7 different circuits, and if he can win race 2 this afternoon, it would be his 10th unbeaten weekend for BMW. Crucial for the Manufacturers' Championship, which was a big pre-season target for Toprak Razgatlioglu. The only thing he couldn't deliver them last year as a result of his late season injury. But he's made no mistakes in 2025, surviving a tough start to the season with 8 defeats in the first 12 races, coming from 41 points down and now leading by 44 after notching 21 wins from 32 races so far. Steve English alongside me, completing the Estoril round hat-trick would put the title within easy reach for Toprak in race 1 of the Spanish round in 6 days' time, and that has to be his target here. Yeah, that's Toprak's target. He knows that to win the championship today, he needs a lot of luck on his side, considering the form that himself and Bulliger have been in over the course of the year. Hard to see how Bulliger's not on the podium and able to keep that run going. But for Razgatlioglu, it's about trying to make sure you're able to keep Bulliger in his place, pick up another race win, get the hat-trick, and leave here with 3 wins. 2 identical podiums this weekend so far, so 2 third places for Alvaro Bautista, giving him 3 points, I should say, over Andrea Locatelli yesterday. Another point gained this morning in the Superpole race, won by half a second for Toprak Razgatlioglu over Nicolo Bulliger, and again able to pass him to come through and hit the front. Remy Gardner enjoying his best Superpole race of the season, P6 for him, and then a couple of beneficiaries from crashes, Axel Bassani and Michael van der Mark rounding out the points. But a massive deficit behind the top 2 all weekend long here in Estoril, around 9/10 of a second per lap throughout yesterday. Realistically, it should be another scrap for the final step on the podium. Yeah, very difficult to see how anyone makes the step that they need. But the one thing that is a bit different today is the conditions are different. It's a little bit cloudier, it's a little bit cooler, and we'll see if that has any impact on the race. But ultimately, with the speed advantage that Razgatlioglu and Bulliger have over the rest of the field, very difficult to see how anyone's able to be in the mix. Always a question of what has anyone learned from the 2 races so far, and we did see in Aragon last time out, race 1 went the way of Razgatlioglu. Then Nicolo Bulliger was able to capitalise on his strength through the final sector, gain time, improve elsewhere around the circuit, and that made all the difference. But we saw precious little sign of that in the Superpole race this morning. Toprak had all the answers. Yeah, Toprak, there was that moment when Bulliger starts to apply a bit of pressure, gets within a few tenths of a second.
They were never separated by more than a few tenths, but Bulaga never really had the chance to attack Razgatlioglu. The first lap we saw that he was able to try and answer back at turn 9, but once Razgatlioglu came through on lap 2, that was it.
Yes, win number 6 at this Estoril circuit for Toprak Razgatlioglu. 23 consecutive podiums and 21 wins now to his name. Meanwhile, Nicolo Bulaga has had 18 second places behind Toprak in this 2025 campaign. He's had 10 wins as well, so only 4 races off the podium. That's what makes it unlikely that he could wrap up Toprak could wrap up the World Championship in race 2 this afternoon. I'm sure he'd like to and just go to Jerez for the party, but he also wasn't afraid of doing the job in race 1 in Jerez a year ago.
Yeah, and that's where the confidence that he has is going to be such that he'll know that it's just a case of trying to get it across the line. But the important thing is to get it across the line, and Toprak's going to know that the best chance to do that, go out and win this race and see what happens. And I think for Toprak, that's where his confidence comes from, knowing that he's always going to give himself those opportunities to win races and try and finish off the season in style. He wants the hat-trick here, but he also wants to win all 3 races in Jerez as well.
Toprak Razgatlioglu then making his way down pit lane and out onto the circuit.
For Toprak as well, he knows that it's not going to be easy next year moving to MotoGP, having to adapt and understand that you're going to be down the field for quite a long portion of the season. It's not going to be easy for any rider in MotoGP, but we've seen it over the years that the Yamaha riders, it has been tough. So for Toprak, he knows that these are his chances to go and enjoy being at the front winning races, because he can't take that for granted next year.
I don't think he will go there expecting to be down the order, though, either, will he? He's going to go there with big ambition, and quite right, too. He's dominated this class. He's been the man to beat. Even the 2 seasons with Alvaro Bautista and the Ducati, that perfect combination. Toprak was still highly regarded as possibly the best superbike rider out there at the time.
Yeah, and Toprak's been able to show that over the years, just how strong a superbike rider he is, and he knows MotoGP's a different kettle of fish, but he'll be expecting that he's able to show his potential there, and no reason to say he wouldn't be able to.
Let's take a look at the grid then for race 2 this afternoon. No change to the front row, but plenty of change further back. Andrea Locatelli and Andrea Iannone made the most progress in this morning's Superpole race. Iannone up 5 places from 10th to 5th. Locatelli up from 8th to 4th. Xavi Vierge loses 2 places at their expense. Crashes for Jonathan Rea at turn 7 and Alex Lowes at turn 1 leave them on row 4 here, promoting Axel Bassani and Michael van der Mark ahead of them to complete row 3. But it's Razgatlioglu, Bulaga and Bautista at the front, and they are undoubtedly your 3 favourites for the podium places here.
Yeah, definitely, and they've shown that form all the way through the weekend. It's about who's able to challenge them at some stage. Bautista and Bulaga, they've had the whole shot in both races so far this weekend, so you'd expect the Ducatis to lead into turn 1. Toprak's going to have to come back at them, and then it's a question of if Locatelli from leading off the second row of the grid is able to put himself in the mix, or if anyone else can.
So we move across and pan across towards the grid here in Estoril. A lot of anticipation, of course, for what is to come. 21 laps ahead of us. We're making our way up through the grid. Unfortunate for Alex Lowes and Jonathan Rea with those spills earlier on, because it cost them an opportunity of a good result in the Superpole race, but it's going to make it tougher for them in race 2. We've seen actually in that group from 3rd place down, very, very difficult to make overtaking maneuvers.
Yeah, difficult to make the move stick. We saw for Lowes that he made the move into turn 1, got through on Locatelli, but just asked a little bit too much of the Bimota. For Rea trying to come through on Locatelli as well, it was just probably pushing a little bit too hard through turn 7. That's the knife edge that you're on whenever you're trying to attack, and with the rules as they are, that the grid is set by your top 9 positions in the Superpole race, it means that you're coming from the 4th row of the grid. It's just not going to be easy.
No, and they've been very evenly matched. What was it, 3rd to 8th in Superpole yesterday, covered by less than 1.5 tenths of a second. So they have been evenly matched for pace, and we've seen that replicated in race 1 and the Superpole race. No reason to expect a different kind of race 2 here. This is Toprak Razgatlioglu's metronomic consistency. Hasn't been out of the top 2 since Assen. Only needs podiums from here to the end of the season to be world champion. Just a matter of when, and at the moment it's looking like being race 1 in Jerez next time.
Yeah, in all likelihood race 1 next time out. So for Toprak and Bulaga, another opportunity to go bar to bar, toe to toe, and see who's able to come out on top. Bulaga has had phases of the races this weekend whenever he's had that little bit of an edge on Toprak, but Toprak's consistently been at the front, and for Bulaga, he needs to probably come up with a slightly different tactic for this race.
Yeah, early laps have been key this weekend so far because Toprak passed Bulliger in race 1. He passed him again in the Super Pole race. So even though Bulliger's got away a little bit better than has been the case at some other rounds this season, Toprak still had the edge in those first few laps.
Yeah, we were able to see for Bulliger just trying to give himself those opportunities later in the race to come back at him, and as you said, Alex, a little bit different to the normal form that we've had where Bulliger at times in recent rounds has struggled on those opening laps.
8th place finish or better here for Nicolo Bulliger, and he will keep the championship alive to Jerez. Only 4 times this season that Bulliger has failed to score. 2 mechanical retirements on Sunday in Assen, taken out at the first corner in the Super Pole race in Misano. Another 12 points lost to Toprak Razgatlioglu in the Super Pole race at the Hungarian round. Completing the front row of the grid, Alvaro Bautista, 2 third places on Sunday in Aragon, 2 third places this weekend so far, but look at how many of those zeros there are across the account through the season, particularly that spate, Hungary, France and Aragon, with 4 non-scores in the space of those 3 rounds, and that's what's left Alvaro Bautista still behind third place Danilo Petrucci, despite his absence from the first 2 races of this weekend, and again, of course, here in race 2.
Yeah, so many of those being lap 1 instance as well, where he's been caught out from qualifying further down the field than he should be, and for Alvaro, that's the thing that's been the difference in the battle for third in the championship, or being closer to the top 2 as well.
8th victory in the Super Pole race this season for Toprak Razgatlioglu. He's also had 6 poles in 2025. He has wrapped up the Super Pole award with a round to spare, and that was one that he didn't manage last year, of course, because of his absence, and Nicolo Bulliger very strong in both formats. Second row of the grid, Andrea Locatelli, Andrea Iannone and Remy Gardner. Originally qualified in 8th position this weekend, Locatelli. He fought his way well through into 2 4th places. He's been like a rocket off the grid in each start. There is a chance that Locatelli passes Bautista in the early stages and has the opportunity to build a bit of a gap. That's the only way he gets on the podium, surely, here.
Yeah, that's the only way, and he needs to hope for the best in that strategy as well, because we've seen it where Bautista is still strong, especially in the second half of the race here this weekend.
Andrea Iannone qualified in 10th position after Super Pole. Made a couple of positions, but nothing mega in race 1, passing Remy Gardner and also Axel Bassani. It was a much better performance from him, though, in the Super Pole race, up as high as 5th here. Yeah,
and important for him to be able to come away with a decent result in this one as well in the Ducati, because it's been such an up-and-down season for Iannone. He finds himself 9th in the standings, but needs a bit more than that.
Completing the second row of the grid here is Remy Gardner, qualified in 7th position. Dropped back to 9th in race 1. I thought he might be in danger of not making a top 9 finish in the Super Pole race, but he put in a brilliant performance. 6th position, and we saw his celebrations. He was delighted with that. He completes the second row of the grid here for race 2. Dave Goddard, down to you on the grids.
Yes, down here with Nicolo Bulliger. Nicolo, it is match point once again. The title fight is still on. Your thoughts ahead of this race?
Yeah, I'll try to do my best. You know, it's difficult, but anyway, never give up.
Never give up, indeed. You feeling confident?
Yeah, I feel quite good, so I hope to battle with Toprak again.
Okay, thanks very much. Very best of luck.
Yes, the reality is, as far as the championship point is concerned, Nicolo Bulliger need only make the top 8 here. The bigger question is whether he can go toe-to-toe with Razgatlioglu, and he hasn't been able to do that in the 2 races so far this weekend. He's been passed by Toprak, he's had good mid-race pace, but then Toprak has been able to consolidate his advantage.
Yeah, Aragon was so impressive from Buliga, but we also saw that that was a weekend where the Ducati had that little bit of an edge. Here this weekend, it's Toprak that has that edge over him, and it's not by much, but it's by just enough.
Third row of the grid then for Xavi Vierge, Axel Bassani and Michael van der Mark. Vierge, who originally qualified an impressive 5th position, has had 2 7th place results. He did show good pace in race 1 yesterday afternoon. I was a little bit disappointed I didn't see him in the mix for the podium positions in the Superpole race, but perhaps the Honda more suited to the longer race format. Axel Bassani, 9th place, had a first turn crash in race 1, had to board the spare machine and could only bring it home to 11th, but he capitalised on the opportunity with 2 falls ahead of him in the Superpole race, starts in 8th position here.
Yeah, and important for Bassani to be able to have that little bit of luck, and 11th place yesterday, 8th in this morning's race. It's about trying to come away with decent points inside the top 10 for him. Yeah,
that's around about where he's been, isn't it? 10th position in the championship, 8 points behind, 12 points behind Andrea Iannone. I think top 10 in the championship is a fair reflection, but likewise Alex Lowe's being on 180 points to his 121 is a fair reflection of the difference between the 2 of them in performance as well. Michael van der Mark completing the 3rd row of the grid, qualified P12, moves up to 9th as a result of those crashes for Lowe's and Ray. It's going to be tough for him to be in the top 10 this afternoon. That's got to be his target.
Yeah, Mikey had transponder issues yesterday, so the BMW got a bit lost out on the racetrack for the electronics, and ultimately we never got to really see what he could do in race 1, but having to jump onto your spare bike leads to issues like that.
4th row of the grid for Alex Lowe's, Jonathan Ray and Ryan Vickers. Question of what those riders might be able to do from the 4th row, because both for Lowe's and for Ray, they showed good pace in race 1, but then got stuck in their group, couldn't find a way past. Lowe's did eventually get the better of Ray, but that was after Ray had run on at turn 1 on the previous lap, so he was struggling for brakes. But Lowe's 5th in race 1, and obviously fails to score in the Superpole race earlier on.
It's just so close in that battle between all these different riders, where it's down to a few hundredths of a second. Try and make your moves when the margin is so tight is always difficult.
Best opportunity of a podium this weekend for Jonathan Ray, probably gone, with all due respect. The Superpole race, he was right there again on the tail of Alvaro Bautista, and now in race 2 from 11th position on the grid, that's a little bit too much to ask. But if he can come away with a top 6 finish, I think it'll be another satisfactory weekend, and one where he's been a fair match for Andrea Locatelli on pace.
Yeah, and we have seen that step forward from Ray over the last few rounds. Qualifying's gone better inside the top 10, and he's just looked a little bit more comfortable on the Yamaha. That'll give him a bit of encouragement going into Jerez in the final round as well.
Completing the 4th row of the grid, Ryan Vickers on the weekend, where it was announced partway through the day on Friday that he and Moto Corsa would be parting ways at the end of this season. Puts in a good 11th place finish in Superpole, 12th place in race 1, 11th in the Superpole race this morning, so top 10 and outside bet, I think.
Yeah, it's easy to feel a bit sorry for Ryan the way things have gone this weekend for him, and he's shown good pace. Looks like he's going to be on the Superbike grid next year, potentially as a wild card for Honda at times, their test rider, and I think he deserves that. He's shown enough flashes of his speed this year.
5th row of the grid for Garrett Gerloff, Taz McKenzie and Ika Lekwona. Gerloff and the rest of the field are in their original qualifying position, so no changes from the 5th row back. Gerloff came through for 10th. We know about his late race pace. That's what he's best known for, and did engage in a bit of a duel late on, but was too far back. The top 9 has been a very clear cut above the rest this weekend so far.
Yeah, it really has, and that's ended up just giving them that chance to be able to constantly break away. That's what means that for Lowe's and Ray from the 4th row of the grid, if you're able to follow those riders, you give yourself a chance in this race.
Yeah, for much of the rest of the field, targets sort of 10th, 11th positions. Taz McKenzie, 14th on the grid. That's where he finished in race 1, was 13th in the Superpole race earlier on today. Ika Lekwona making his return from an arm injury. Said at the end of the day yesterday he wasn't really feeling any pain, but obviously he's race rusty. It's been a long time since he was last on the bike, and he's had the summer break and his signing news for next season and so on since then. Ended Friday with a crash, ended Saturday with a crash, so he needs a clean race today.
Yeah, he got unlucky yesterday. There was contact with Taz McKenzie that ended up causing the crash for Iker Lekwona, but ultimately for Iker. We saw in the run down to turn 1, he was trying to keep himself out of trouble. He just wants to be able to make sure that he's fit enough and strong enough to finish off the season.
Messy weekend, unfortunately, for Jari Montella. Clipped another rider at turn 6 on the opening lap of race 1 in the restart and went down. Failed to score in the Superpole race, so looking for his first point since race 1 in Aragon. Failed to score in Manicourt. It's been a tough latter stages of this season as far as he is concerned. Continuing on through the 6th row of the grid, this is Tito Rabat. Failed to score in Aragon last time out, but had the measure of the Moto X Yamahas really for the first time since moving away from the team and onto the Honda. 13th for him in race 1 yesterday, and he retired from the Superpole race. 5 minutes to go until race starts. Dave Goddard, down to you.
Yes, I'm down at BMW with Sven Bluch there at Motorsport Director. Sven, the team are ready, Toprak is ready. It's match point time again. Toprak ready to go for the hat-trick.
Everything is set, I would say. Let's see how it goes, but he's such a strong mindset. I think he will do really well, and let's see in 50 minutes how it looks like.
The Ducatis have been a little stronger off the start line so far, but some good battling in the early laps we've seen.
Yeah, no risk at the beginning, so we are not pushing too much in the first lap. Toprak should sort out everything, and then over the next laps he can sort out the right position for him.
Okay, thanks for your time, Sven. Best of luck to the team for the race.
Thank you.
So we continue on through the grids, returning to the 6th row. This is Bahattin Sofoglu. Failed to score at the Aragon round last time out. His first scoreless weekend actually since Cremona in May, and he was beaten all weekend by Michael Ruben Rinaldi. His teammate Rinaldi struggling with gastroenteritis at this Estoril round. Sofoglu retired from race 1. We saw him embattled in the initial staging as well, and 14th in the Superpole race. So he's looking for his first points here since race 1 of the French round at Manicourt, and his lone top 10 finish to date for 6 points at the French round. 7th row of the grid for Rinaldi, Nagashima and Fong. Ivo Lopez completes a field of 22 riders, several withdrawals. We've lost Dominic Egerter, we've lost Danilo Petrucci, we've lost Sam Lowes, but we have some wildcards, some substitute riders towards the back of the field. They'll be involved in their own scrap. Up at the head of the field, first potential championship point. It's unlikely. Nicolo Bulliger need only finish inside the top 8 to keep us going to Jerez and the final round of this season. But it's all in Toprak Razgatlioglu's hands. First championship point. If Toprak Razgatlioglu wins here and completes his latest hat-trick, Nicolo Bulliger must score 8 points for 8th place to keep his fading mathematical hopes alive. That should be a formality. This season he's won 10 races, finished 2nd place 18 times in 32 races. He's only been off the podium 4 times. In 2 seasons in World SBK, Bulliger's finished 2nd behind Toprak no less than 30 times. So more realistically, it's a question of whether Toprak can win here, which would mean he would only need a top 4 finish from race 1 in Jerez to be crowned world champion. Alex Raby and Steve English for race 2 of the EICMA Estoril round. Toprak with 2 wins so far, and he has had a step on Nicolo Bulliger as he bids to make it a hat-trick here.
Yeah, he's had that pace advantage this weekend, and it's been marginal between them, but it's been in Toprak's favour. Just looking at the riders as they leave the grid, looks like Toprak's out there, same choice front and rear tyres as Nicolo Bulliger, so neither rider gaining a little bit of an advantage or a difference between each other as they head down in towards turn 1. This is where we had the big incident yesterday with a red flag, and that can easily happen again today.
Yeah, pinch point into that first turn. Obviously, it's a heavy braking zone. It's a slower corner, and we'll see how they fare on the opening lap. But they behaved themselves well in the Superpole race.
Yeah, and obviously their opening race the weekend always a little bit trickier for that. On the start, look out for Alvaro Bautista on the number 19 machine. He's the rider that has made quick starts in all 2 races so far. Ducati will expect to lead into turn 1, but Toprak hasn't been fazed by that over the last couple of days.
As we see the riders making their way back towards the grid. The 2 podiums thus far this weekend have been identical. Razgatlioglu, Bulliger, Bautista. That's how they started after Superpole. That's how they start again here. But the early laps have been frantic in each of the starts. Bulliger passing Razgatlioglu, Bautista making the good jump yesterday, leading a couple of laps. So the first third of this race, anything is possible.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing as you look towards what happens at the start. What does Andrea Iannone do from the middle of the second row of the grid. The number 29 machine, this is his chance, and he needs to make a good start, put yourself in contention. We know that from Cremona earlier in the year that if he doesn't have the pace, he can be a bit of a roadblock, but he's able to put his bike in the right places to make it difficult for other riders to come through. Iannone could be a little bit of a wild card in it. Locatelli on the run to turn one knows that's going to be his chance in those opening few laps, because Bautista's a little bit vulnerable in those opening laps with the full fuel load. He hasn't looked comfortable on the change of that direction.
Yes, Iannone with 2 fourth places on Sunday in Aragon, a 5th place in the Superpole race earlier on today. He's finally found his feet, but a little bit too late. His last podium all the way back in Phillip Island in February. So, riders moving in towards the start line. As you can see, Toprak Razgatlioglu it is who leads the championship by 44 points. Separate fight for 3rd overall. Alvaro Bautista leads Andrea Locatelli by 3 points. He trails Danilo Petrucci by 8, but of course Petrucci absent throughout this weekend as a result of a hand injury. Tried valiantly in free practice 1, but was unfit for the remainder of the weekend. So it's BMW versus Ducati in the Manufacturers' Championship. Only 2 points between them. That